Hello, welcome to the channel, Setting the Stage. Today's video is called The Illuminati and Satanism. If you like this sort of content, please subscribe. Today's video's topics page. First, we're going to be taking a look at how the Illuminati is connected to Freemasonry. Then Freemasonry is connected to the Kabbalah. Kabbalah is connected to Gnosticism. Gnosticism is Luciferian. Modern Satanism is Luciferian. The Illuminati is connected to Freemasonry. Quotes from Proofs of a Conspiracy. And I went over these quotes in the Illuminati history presentation. So if you'd like to see the full presentation of these quotes, please take a look at that video. For now, I'm going to go over just a couple for this video. And it says, an order of Masons who called themselves the Illuminated, and that the express aim of this order was to abolish Christianity and overturn all civil government. And the order was said to abjure Christianity. And the House of Hesse hosted a Congress of Wilhelmsbad where the Illuminati merged with Freemasonry. And again, I went over all these quotes in the Illuminati history video, so if you want to see the full presentation of these, please take a look at that video. Freemasonry is Kabbalistic, and on the left is a statue of Albert Pike. In America, Pike is considered an eminent and influential Freemason, primarily in the Scottish Rite Southern jurisdiction. He is the only Confederate Civil War general to have a statue in his honor at a square in Washington, D.C., not for being a general, but for being a Freemason. Morals and Dogma of the Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, or simply Morals and Dogma, is a book of esoteric philosophy published by the Supreme Council, 33rd degree of the Scottish Rite Southern jurisdiction of the United States. It was compiled by Albert Pike and was first published in 1871. One of Pike's influences was the French author Eliphas Levi, and we'll be hearing more about Eliphas Levi coming up later in this presentation. Levi was a prolific writer on occult topics who, in Pike's day, was considered an expert on pagan mysteries and Gnosticism. In his book, Dogme et Ritual de la Haute Magie, 1855, Levi claimed that Freemasonry had its roots in ancient pagan rituals. Pike plagiarized or quoted without attribution content for Morals and Dogma from Levi's book. Freemasonry is Kabbalistic. Quotes from Morals and Dogma that show Freemasonry is connected to Kabbalah. Masonry is a search after light. That search leads us to the Kabbalah. From the Kabbalah, all the Masonic associations owe to it their secrets and their symbols. The three great lights of the lodge are symbols to us. They are also symbols of the first three Sephirot according to the Kabbalah. And on the left is the Kabbalah Tree of Life, and at the top are the first three Sephirot, numbered 1, 2, and 3. And then on the right, if the Kabbalah Tree of Life is divided into three pillars, those three Sephirot become the top of the three pillars. And on the left here, we see the relationship between the three pillars of the Sephirot and the three great columns of Freemasonry. And then on the right, we see various examples of how the three columns are represented in Masonic art. And then how Albert Pike said the Sephirot are symbols of the lights of the lodge. We see the three lights in most of this art, usually being the sun, the moon, and the enlightened eye, which is a symbol of the enlightened mind of man, or the awakened third eye. Kabbalah is connected to Gnosticism. Gnostic ideas found a Jewish variation in the mystical study of Kabbalah. Many core Gnostic ideas reappear in Kabbalah, according to Shalom Gersham's Origins of the Kabbalah, 1962. Kabbalah is an esoteric method, discipline, and school of thought in Jewish mysticism. One of the fundamental Kabbalistic texts, the Zohar, was first published in the 13th century, and the almost universal form adhered to in modern Judaism is Lurianic Kabbalah. According to Lurianic cosmology, the Sephirot correspond to various levels of creation and are emanated from the Creator for the purpose of creating the universe. So at the bottom, we see the Kabbalah Tree of Life, again on the left. And then on the right, we see the Sephirot are listed 1 through 10. Keter, crown, is the top. number 1, and above that is Shitsum, the contraction. And above that is the divine itself, according to Lurianic Kabbalah. So going down from the divine to the bottom of the tree of life, number 10, Malkuth, is realm, and that represents this physical realm. So in summary, Kabbalah is creation by emanation, and emanations are descending levels of creation going from the divine and spiritual down to the physical and material. Gnosticism comes from the Greek word for knowledge and is a modern name for a variety of ancient religious ideas and systems. These systems believe that the material world is created by emanation, like Kabbalah. Emanation in Gnosticism, the supreme light or consciousness descends through a series of stages, gradations, worlds, or hypostasis, becoming progressively more material and embodied, again like Kabbalah. And then at the bottom we see a chart of the various emanations of God in Gnosticism, going from the divine at the top down to Sophia, wisdom at the bottom. Sophia, in Gnostic tradition, the term Sophia, Greek for wisdom, refers to the final and lowest emanation of God. In most, if not all, versions of the Gnostic myth, Sophia births the demiurge, who in turn brings about the creation of materiality. The demiurge creates the physical universe and the physical aspect of humanity. The term demiurge derives from the Latinized form of the Greek term demiurgus and literally means public or skilled worker. Other names for the demiurge are Yaldabaoth, El, and Yahweh Jehovah, which are other names for God. And as according to Marcion from Religion for Breakfast, it is in fact the Old Testament God. And the Gnostics heard about the loving and forgiving God of Jesus, and then they read about the Old Testament God and that he was a authoritarian and vengeful God, and they thought he must represent a false God. And then they read about the serpent and how he gave knowledge to Adam and Eve and told them that they could become like gods themselves. And it says about Jehovah, he was identified by all the Gnostics with the evil rather than with the good principle. For them, he was Yaldabaoth, the son of darkness, according to Helena Blavatsky's The Secret Doctrine. And we'll be hearing more about Helena Blavatsky coming up in this presentation as well. According to the temptation and fall of Eve, Sophia devised by means of the serpent to seduce Eve and Adam to transgress the precept of Yaldabaoth, and Eve, accepting the advice of one who seemed a son of God, persuaded Adam also to eat of the forbidden tree, and when they ate, they gained knowledge. Thereupon Yaldabaoth cast Adam and Eve out of paradise. So here, clearly, Yaldabaoth is acting as the Old Testament God. And then another thing to note is that the serpent acts as a hero, rescuing Adam and Eve from the Old Testament God. And it says of the serpent that he was one who seemed a son of God. A language usually left for Jesus Christ. So this shows the veneration of the serpent within Gnosticism. Ophites. The Ophites, coming from the Greek word for snake, were members of a Gnostic sect depicted by Hippolytus of Rome, and he said they had heretical speculations concerning the serpent of Genesis or Moses. Other early church accounts of the Ophites come from Origen and Clement of Alexandria, as well as Irenaeus. And they said the Ophites extolled the serpent and preferred it to Christ. Their honor of the serpent, whom they even preferred to Christ, they're venerating him because he taught our first parents knowledge, and their introduction of the serpent into their Eucharistic celebrations. The Nag Hammadi Library is a collection of early Christian and Gnostic texts discovered near the Upper Egyptian town of Nag Hammadi in 1945. Of the Nag Hammadi Gnostic texts that mention the serpent, 3 appear related to earlier church accounts of the Ophites, and these are the hypostasis of the archons, and then the ones we'll be looking at on the origin of the world and the Apocryphon of John. And these texts date between the mid-2nd century and the 3rd century. On the origin of the world, the serpent in the Garden of Eden is depicted as a hero sent by Sophia, the figure of wisdom, to guide mankind towards enlightenment. So the Nag Hammadi library confirms the early church accounts of the Ophites and veneration of the serpent within Gnosticism. The Apocryphon of John, Christ reveals to John that it was he who caused Adam to consume of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge. So here Christ is identified with the serpent. Serpent veneration in Kabbalistic symbolism. And to see that, we take a look at the path of the flaming sword interpretation of the Kabbalah tree of life. At the top, we see the handle of the sword striking down from the divine down to the physical. This sword represents the sword of God, since in Genesis 3:22 through 24, it says, "The Lord God sent them out of the Garden of Eden, and he placed a flaming sword to guard the way to the tree of life." So here we see the sword of God strikes down into the material, while the serpent leads up to the divine. The serpent developed the name Lucifer. The word Lucifer is the Latin name for the planet Venus when it is seen before the rising of the sun and means morning star or light bearer. And in the picture we see the horizon just before the rising of the sun, and then in the upper left corner we see a small white dot. That is the planet Venus, seen before the rising of the sun, and when that happens, it was known as Lucifer in Latin, and that meant morning star or light bearer. Its Latin form was carried over into early English translations of the Bible, including the King James Version. And it said, and in Isaiah 14:12, it says, "How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer." This passage refers to the fall of Lucifer. There is some controversy as to whether this passage is referring to the serpent, Satan, or whether it is referring to the king of Babylon. However, this passage has been linked to passages that do refer to the fall of Satan, such as Luke 10:18, when Jesus said, "I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven." Or in Revelation 12, where it says, "A place was not found for them any longer in heaven. The great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him." The serpent developed the name Lucifer since he is the fallen light bearer, and enlightenment represents knowledge. Luciferian philosophy. And on the left we see a couple of examples of Luciferian art. One coming from a newspaper called Lucifer the Light Bearer. And then the piece of art on below that shows Lucifer as an angel, capturing the light behind him and then pouring it down onto humanity. And the Luciferian philosophy is apotheosis. And apotheosis is the glorification of a subject to the divine level. Usually in Luciferianism, that subject is the self. They see light and enlightenment as a metaphor for knowledge. They believe the serpent, Lucifer, the light bearer, taught enlightenment to mankind in paradise by eating of the tree of knowledge, and knowledge leads to divinity. It is a form of Satanism based on Gnostic Kabbalistic tradition. Modern Satanism is Luciferian. And this comes full circle back to Albert Pike, since he said Freemasonry is from Kabbalah, and Kabbalah is Gnostic, and Gnosticism is Luciferian. In Morals and Dogma, he says Lucifer the light bearer. Lucifer, it is he who bears the light. And this is not the Taxel hoax quote. He says Lucifer bears the light, and Masonry is a search after light. Other quotes that show Freemasonry is Luciferian come from Manly P. Hall, a prominent Freemason from the 20th century. And he says, when the Mason learns the mystery of his craft, the seething energies of Lucifer are in his hands, and he may step onward and upward. Lucifer represents the individual intellect. Lucifer in the form of Venus is the morning star. This is Helena Blavatsky, who we've heard about previously in this presentation. She wrote the book, The Secret Doctrine. She also had a magazine entitled simply Lucifer. And quotes from The Secret Doctrine that are Luciferian are Lucifer, the spirit of intellectual enlightenment and freedom of thought, views Satan, the serpent of Genesis, as the real creator and benefactor, the father of spiritual mankind, for it is he who was the harbinger of light, bright and radiant Lucifer, who opened the eyes of the automaton created by Jehovah, and can only be regarded in the light of a Savior. Lucifer, our light bearer, is in us. It is our mind, our tempter and redeemer, our intelligent liberator and Savior. Satan and his rebellious host will thus prove to have become the direct saviors and creators of divine man. Thus, Satan, once he ceases to be viewed in the superstitious spirit of the church, grows into the grandiose image. It is Satan who is the God of our planet and the only God. Satan represents the centrifugal energy of the universe, the ever-living symbol of self-sacrifice for the intellectual independence of humanity. The appellation Satan, in Hebrew Satan, an adversary, belongs by right to the first and cruelest adversary of all the other gods, Jehovah, not to the serpent which spoke only words of sympathy and wisdom. And then at the bottom it says, Morgan summarizes the secret doctrine laid out an emanationist view of the development of the physical universe, a process of ebb and flow in which spirit gradually unfolded itself in matter, attaining consciousness and returning to spirit in a higher, more realized form. And this shows the Luciferianism of Helena Blavatsky's secret doctrine has roots in Gnostic, Kabbalistic viewpoints. This is Aleister Crowley. He was a prominent Satanist from the 20th century. We see the Freemasonic all-seeing eye at the top of his hat. And he says, this serpent, Satan, is not the enemy of man, but he who made gods of our race. Knowing good and evil, he bade know thyself, and taught initiation. He is the devil. His emblem is Baphomet. And this is Eliphas Levi, who we heard was a influence for Pike's Morals and Dogma. And then, as Aleister Crowley just mentioned, the Baphomet, Eliphas Levi designed the Baphomet, and we can see his signature at the bottom of this piece of art. At the top of the Baphomet, we see the torch, which represents the light bearer. So the Baphomet is Luciferian art. We also see the head of a goat, which is a satanic symbol, since when Jesus said he is going to come to judge humanity in Matthew 25, he's going to separate us as a shepherd divides the sheep from the goats. The sheep go to heaven and the goats go to hell. So they're showing their affiliation with the condemned. And there's other satanic symbolism in the Baphomet, but I just mentioned those to illustrate the Satanism. Eliphas Levi also was the one to say that an upright pentagram represented good and an inverted pentagram represented evil, which has allusions to white and black magic. And we can see how the goat's head is imposed into the upside down pentagram, reinforcing its satanic symbolism. And it says Eliphas Levi had an impact on the magic of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, and later on the ex-Golden Dawn member Aleister Crowley. And Levi's ideas also influenced Helena Blavatsky. So he not only influenced Albert Pike, but Aleister Crowley and Helena Blavatsky. And it says he had an influence on the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn and the magic of the Hermetic Order. And it says the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn was a secret society devoted to the study and practice of the occult. And the three founders were Freemasons. The Golden Dawn system was based on hierarchy and initiation like the Masonic lodges, and was based on the Hermetic Kabbalah. So we've already seen how the Kabbalah influenced Freemasonry. So now we will see how Hermeticism does as well. And this is going to be just a brief overview of Hermeticism, since it is connected to all this. And it says Hermeticism is a religious and philosophical and esoteric tradition based primarily upon the writings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus. Hermeticism claims that there are three parts of wisdom. The first part is alchemy. Alchemy is the practice of the transmutation of base metals such as lead into gold. In Hermeticism, it is used as an allegory of obtaining divine consciousness, which is compatible with Gnostic, Kabbalistic Luciferianism, in which the base metals represent base intellect or consciousness, and the gold represents divine intellect or consciousness. The second part of Hermeticism is astrology. The movements of the planets hold metaphorical value as symbols in the mind of the All or God. Astrology has influences upon the earth, and this includes the philosophy of as above, so below. And on the left, we see the Magician Tarot card doing the Hermetic as above, so below symbolism, as well as other Hermetic symbols in there. And in the Illuminati and Current Events video, we will see how the tarot cards are related to Kabbalah in more detail. And the third part of Hermeticism is theurgy, or divine magic relying upon an alliance with divine spirits. Theurgy translates to the science or art of divine works, and is the practical aspect of the Hermetic art of alchemy. Furthermore, alchemy is seen as the key to theurgy, the ultimate goal of which is to become united with higher counterparts, leading to the attainment of divine consciousness, which again we can see is compatible with Gnostic, Kabbalistic Luciferianism. And we already seen how Hermeticism affected the magic of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, white and black magic, and the Magician of the Tarot card, and it is also the basis of the magic of Wicca and witchcraft. This is Anton LaVey. Anton LaVey founded the Church of Satan and wrote the Satanic Bible. The second part of the Satanic Bible is called the Book of Lucifer, the Enlightenment. Lucifer is also named one of the four crown princes of hell and called the Enlightenment, the Morning Star, and Lightbringer. The Illuminati are satanic globalists. And we saw these symbols in the middle in the streets of Washington, where an upside-down pentagram is designed into the streets of Washington, with the bottom point pointing at the White House, and also that the military is run out of the Pentagon building, which is the middle part of the upside-down pentagram. We saw how these symbols were Freemasonic in the Illuminati history video, and now we can see how they are satanic symbols as well. The fourth beast shall be a fourth kingdom on the earth, which shall be different from all the other kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth. And this is a quote from Daniel 7, and is an example of a prophecy from the Bible that predicts a one-world government, and it's just one of many. And then we see in Luke, from the temptation of Jesus, that the devil showed Jesus all the kingdoms of the world, and the devil said to him, "This authority has been delivered to me." So here we see the prophecy that, or the principle that the devil is in control of the kingdoms of the world. So a satanic globalism is predicted in the Bible. And in the middle, we see a picture of the fourth Baron Lord Jacob Rothschild and David Rockefeller. And from the Illuminati history video, we know about the connections of the Rothschilds to the Illuminati, and now the Illuminati's connections to Freemasonry and Satanism. And we know the Rothschilds' connections to central banking and internationalism with central banking, such as the IMF and the World Bank. And then we see David Rockefeller. And from the Illuminati history video, we know their connections to banking and central banking. And it says, some even believe we, the Rockefeller family, are part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists, and of conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure. One world, if you will. If that's the charge, I stand guilty and I'm proud of it. That's a quote from David Rockefeller. And we know the Rockefellers' connections to the UN, mostly from the Illuminati and the Establishment video. And it says, Weishaupt, who started the Illuminati, had long been scheming the establishment of an association or order which in time should govern the world. So we see in the middle the Freemasonic Phoenix symbol. At the top it says Ordo ab Chao, which means order out of chaos. And if you think about order out of chaos and building a one world government, then you would think about World War I leading to the League of Nations, World War II leading to the UN, the IMF, and the World Bank. And then if you look at the flag of the UN, over the globe, if you add up all the sections that are overlaid it adds up to the number 33, which is the number we also see in the Freemasonic Order of Chaos symbol. And the number 33 is a satanic symbol, which we went over in the Illuminati symbolism video. And it's satanic because when Satan was cast out of heaven, he was cast out with a third of the angels, and a third calculates to a 33 repeating. And also it's satanic since Christ is traditionally understood to have been crucified at the age of 33. So the UN flag represents satanic globalism. If you've liked this presentation, please take a look at the other videos in this series. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.